Hello, everyone. I'm Jason. Good to have you here. I'm excited for this career talk on how to make the most of your internship. So let's rock and roll. The agenda today is I'll give you a quick bio about myself, then I'm going to go into the core of the content, and then my favorite part, open Q&A. You can ask me anything you want. Career, growth, life, etc. You have a question for it, just ask it. Okay. Deeper bio about myself. I had no idea what I wanted to do as a career in my life. So, in my high school and college career, at USC, I had 7 internships because I figured the best way for me to figure out what I liked to do and what I was good at was to experience it firsthand through osmosis. And 5 of those 7 internships happened at USC. I used the Career Center portal, I applied to all of them, and that's what started it. And these were all different types of internships. They ranged from PR to accounting to digital marketing. This was back in around 2008, 9 era. So just the dawn of Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, etc. Um, Mobile SMS marketing, text message marketing. Um, what else did I do? Oh yeah, sales, coupon sales, newspaper sales, those kinds of things, digital advertising. So run the gamut. Anyways, as you can see here, I graduated from Annenberg and I was pre-law and media communications. So the goal was for me to go into law. As you could probably tell from this slide, I did not become a lawyer. Instead, I went into digital advertising. I actually got my full-time job because of a previous internship at Sony Pictures Entertainment, the movie studios, and 2 of the executives there, Elias and Michael, were USC alumni. So when my internship was up and I was looking for a full-time job, I emailed them and they helped me get my full-time role at Universal McCann, the media agency. They essentially just emailed the EVP, executive vice president, and said, "Hey, this college kid he's not crazy, so give him a shot and hire him." So post college, I started as a assistant media planner, managing 0 people, and then within about 7 years, I went up to vice president, managing a full department of digital marketing and strategy, a big P&L, 40 plus people org, hundreds of millions of dollars of marketing budget, and I was also served on a advisory as a advisory board member for a nonprofit in LA. Uh, then I made the move to Amazon because one of my mentors moved to Amazon earlier. So I moved up to Seattle, was at Amazon, was on the business development team for Marketplace, and then built a new role called Voice of the Seller. Thought I was going to end my career at Amazon because I really liked it. The culture, the operating excellence, the high bar, the work, etc. But then I decided to do a cliff jump and go to a startup on the founding team where we raised $8 million dollars in seed capital with a PowerPoint deck. And it was quite the roller coaster ride. Uh, After almost 2 years there doing that, now I'm the co-founder and COO of Level Up, which is basically a career platform to help people make career breakthroughs through courses, content, community, etc. Throughout that time, I stayed close to startups. I served as a mentor to Techstars and First Round Capital, and as a advisory council member for Harvard Business Review. Okay, so I've had quite the roller coaster career, not linear, which I thought it was going to be, but all over the place, which a lot of people ask me questions about. Okay, let's get into the core of this lecture. 4 key actions that we're going to cover. First impressions, I'm going to take you through the magic loop. I'm going to show you how to meet with key stakeholders at your internships with a purpose, and then the importance of a brag file. Okay, first impressions. This is your internship, right? Okay, why do they matter? At Amazon, so we discovered that tech interns who committed code changes during the first week were more likely to succeed long term. So this says tech interns in code, but this principle applies broadly to any role, technical or non-technical. The key here was they made a small win during the first 1 to 2 weeks. And that set the tone for the rest of their internship. Why do first impressions matter? Because these are the traits you want to exhibit to your employer and future employer: extreme ownership, bias for action, that you deliver results, and that you exhibit the company values or leadership principles of whatever company you're at, right? Um, but regardless, if you do ownership, bias for action, results, you will be known as someone who is high agency. And that's the reputation you want to establish early on in your career. Okay, so before you start your internship, this is my recommendation. Email your intern manager and just say two things. I'm super excited to start on this internship. Um, and make it clear, I want to do a bar raising job and I want to deliver in the top 1% of this internship class. Is there anything I can do now to prepare so that on my first day I can hit the ground running? And prepare means things like reading material, reading the company mission statement, anything, whatever the reply is, just digest it. Because here's the thing, these are the replies you're going to get. The intern manager is either going to say, "Oh, great, we're super excited to have you. Here's a list of things you can do to prepare." Great, now you have a leg up. Or they can just simply say, "We're excited to have you. Don't worry about it. Enjoy being in college, and everything will come on the first day." Fine. Not ideal, but it's fine. But at least you set the tone that you're excited. People want to hire positive sum team players. So that's one of the traits you just exhibited, right? Okay. And then when you start the internship and you meet with your manager, reinforce and be upfront about your goals and say, "Hey, intern manager, I want to be at the top of this internship class. I really want to show what I have and contribute to this company." And if you want, if you know it that early on, you can say, "My goal is I want to work full time at this company because I really like these principles or the mission values that the company has." And then ask for advice on how to achieve it. Is there anything you think I need to know now that would help me achieve this? Other things that you want to get clarity on is you always want to be clear with your manager. What are your manager's goals or their KPIs, the key performance indicators? What is your manager being judged on? And then um, you want to know your KPIs as the intern. You want to know your manager's KPIs, and then also ask the manager, "Okay, manager, so I understand my goals and responsibilities. Now I know your goals and responsibilities. What about the broader org that we're in? The broader org could be marketing, sales, accounting, engineering, payments, legal, uh, ops, UX, whatever it is. But what you want to know is you want to know what matters to the leadership of your org and then how it cascades and rolls down to you. So there's three levels: your KPIs, your manager KPIs, and your org KPIs. Okay, and you'll see how this dovetails with the Magic Loop. So the Magic Loop was created by my co-founder and business partner, Ethan Evans. He's a retired Amazon vice president. And the beauty of the Magic Loop is it's five simple steps. Do your job well, that's table stakes. Ask your manager how you can help them. Super simple. Whatever they give you, it could be grunt work, it could be an exciting big project, just do what they ask and deliver it. Then step four, then you want to ask your manager if you could help in a way that grows your skill towards a particular goal you have, whether that's a promotion, working on X project, or getting landing a full-time role, right? And then the key is you just keep doing as they suggest and repeating it starting from step four. Now it sounds so simple, right? Why is it called the magic loop? This is a visual representation of what it looks like. So it's kind of like a flywheel, right? Steps one, two, three, four, five. Then you keep doing one, two, three, four, five. Then once you get really good at it and you build trust and credibility with the manager, then you start doing four, five, four, five, four, five, and then you achieve your goal, right? Okay, this is why it matters. And trust me, this number still flabbergasts me. But Ethan and I, we speak with many mid and senior level leaders and executives weekly. 90% of the managers, they never get asked by their employees how the employee can help them. So just the single act of saying, "How can I help you?" will make you stand out. Okay, there's some advanced forms to the magic loop, and I'll give you some examples. So once you start doing the magic loop and you start asking, "How can I help you?" and you start delivering it. Remember, delivering good work is how you build trust and credibility. Then the next step is you want to start suggesting your own ideas. So you're moving from asking to suggesting. So, for example, hey manager, I notice we're often late on projects because we forget to account for vacation schedules when someone's out. I've been thinking about how we could implement a step in our planning process that captures this. Would that be helpful, or is there something else you would like me to do? So remember, so now you're suggesting your own idea how you can improve something. The beauty with this is the response you're going to get from your manager is going to be mostly fall into three buckets. Yes, that's a great idea. Go do it. You have my blessing or alignment. That's a good idea. Have you thought about it this way? Or go talk to this person to help you with it. Okay, good. You just got buy up. Now go execute it. Or the third one is no, uh, don't work on this. It's a waste of time. Focus on XYZ. But either way, you got clarity and you have an action item on what to do. Because you don't want to waste your time working on work that's really not that meaningful. Okay. Once you start suggesting things and then your manager is responding positively, after a few rounds of that, you want to move to just doing it. So, same example as the last slide, but in this case, you're saying, hey, manager, I noticed we missed vacation schedules. I went ahead and fixed that by adding this step XYZ. I've written this document and shipped and shared it with the team. Great. Because by this time, your trust is high with the manager. So something smaller like this, you can say, I just shipped it and it works and the team's happy. Now you've just made your job for your manager super simple, right? And everyone likes this proactiveness. Now, this is what the three forms of the magic loop looks like visually. So we covered asking, then suggesting. Remember, suggesting is you do your current job well, suggest how you can help, do what they ask, then you want to suggest work that also advances your career, right? And then the just doing it. Hey, manager, I just did it. Now, the key is this is not a step function, uh, let's call it graph or chart or visual. You don't go from asking, suggesting, and just doing it. You blend all three depending on the situation. Why is that? Because sometimes you cannot just do it, or sometimes you don't have enough context to suggest something impactful. Sometimes your manager has more background or context or history with a particular puzzle or problem, and that's where you go to asking. This is where you use your judgment and discernment as an individual to say, okay, this one I don't know too much about, so let me just ask my manager outright how I can help. Oh, this one, the team and I have been working on it for 2 weeks. I think I know how to solve it. Let me just suggest it. Or the third one, this one's really simple. I've kind of fixed it already. Let me just tell my manager. That's just doing it. But you want to blend all three styles. The beauty with the magic loop is this works at all levels. I'm talking about from intern to C-suite executive. Ethan, when he created this, he was a VP at Amazon. He used it as a senior manager at Amazon, director at Amazon, and VP at Amazon when he managed 800 people. So this is seniority agnostic. Okay. The third key action, meeting stakeholders with a purpose during your internship. You have an intern superpower. Because you're an intern, most people will take a 15-minute with you because they like to give back. They see you, as someone who's younger and maybe reminds them of their college days or something like that, university days, etc. Leverage this and then use these key introduction and closing phrases. Okay, introduction, super simple. Hey, my name's Jason. I'm a student at USC. I'm currently an intern at XYZ team under ABC manager. I'm working on XYZ and I just shipped ABC. Remember, that's the proof of results. I would love to learn how my work contributes and aligns with your work and your team and the mission. Can I grab 15 minutes and ask you these two questions? Very hard for someone to say no to that to an intern because you showed clarity in your ask, you shipped something on importance, and then you're showing them where you fall in the org chart. So it's really thoughtful, right? I'm on this team under this manager, and we worked on this project, and I want to know better how it aligns with your team and work. And then you could always add, how can I help you, right? That's a powerful introduction. At the end of every meeting, this could be virtual, in person, whatever, always end with, I enjoyed meeting with you. I'm eager to learn more about the company and meet more people. Who's one person you recommend I connect with? If you do this once a week for a 6 to 10 week internship, you're going to meet 6 to 10 new people or stakeholders at this company who, when they decide who to bring back and give a full-time offer to, your name is higher in the funnel, right? That's what you want. Um, there's something about frequency bias and then also quality of work bias, right? So you want to be someone who's proactive and but has a bias for action. And then the third step, whoever you met with, whenever they helped you or introduced you to someone, always close the loop with a super simple thank you for introducing me to this person. We talked about XYZ, and now I'm working on ABC. Super simple, short progress update. Because I can guarantee you 90% plus, probably 99% of people never close the loop. Now, the thing is, when you make an introduction to someone or referral, the person whoever made that referral, they usually remember doing it. Sits in the back of their mind for some reason. I could remember almost everyone I connected with, and it's a lot. At least in the hundreds, probably the thousands. You know, friends, colleagues, peers, etc., company to company. Sometimes I'll connect two people at the same company, but just in different teams. Um, they always remember, and they always remember who closes the loop. Okay, number four, keep a brag file. So, what the heck is a brag file? Okay, a brag file is a living, breathing document that you own, that you update personally. It could be Google Docs, etc. I use Google Docs. And basically, you want to keep track of four things: your wins, the feedback you received from your manager, your peers, your skip, who is your manager's boss or your manager's peers, etc. Metrics, always benchmark it with results. That's the proxy, right? The benchmarking is important because numbers by themselves don't mean anything. If you went up to your manager and said, "Hey, good news, this internship project delivered $10 million in revenue," they'd be like, "Okay, but the benchmark was 12. So what happened?" Right? So always proxy it, and then anecdotes. Anecdotes can be customer quotes, vendor feedback, any wins. Like think about reviews and testimonials, right? And then the way you want to track this is using the STAR method. And I'll go into that a little bit because first, let me explain why it's important. Number one, you think in the moment, oh, I'm an intern. I'm going to remember every detail of this. There's no way. I can't even remember what I did last week sometimes. So you want to document it. Your future self, trust me, will thank you when you need to update your resume later on because you're basically updating your resume in real time. So it's fresh, right? And then here's the second point. Second point is number is really important. Stakeholders will ask you when for the key bullet points of what you did when you ask for a referral. How do I know this? Because I made this mistake. Remember, I told you when I was an intern at Sony Pictures Entertainment, the movie studio, and then I asked those two senior executives for referral to the Universal McCann? Yeah. Well, both of them asked the same questions when I emailed them. They're like, "Sure. Can you refresh me on like 2 to 3 bullet points on what you actually did during as a summer intern?" And I was like, "Oh, yeah, I should remember what I did." So I had to really rack my brain, go through the emails, go through the docs. I was able to finally do it, but it probably took me, I probably responded to them within 24 hours. But responding to someone within 15 minutes or 30 minutes, it's better than 24 hours, right? Especially executives with short attention spans. Because I'll tell you, um, most of us tend to be quite impatient, super busy, and always on our mobile phone. So the faster you can respond, the better. So that's why this is important. I know it seems simple right now, but trust me, your future self will thank you for it. And when you're much older in your career, remember, careers are decades. So when you're 2, 3, 4 decades in and you want to reflect or look back, having all of this data is kind of like a little mini biography, an artifact to reflect upon. Okay, the STAR method. If you don't know what it is, this is what it stands for: situation, task, action, results. What you want to write, let me see. Do I have more? Okay, no, let me go back. Okay. What you want to write is 2 to 4 sentences each one. Because when you go for interviews, specifically companies that that use a behavioral interview style, like Amazon does, where they ask you questions like, "Hey, I'm just going to call some names I see. Hey, Kim, tell me about a time where you worked on a project and you had a fast deliverable." You want to respond in a star format. Or, "Hey, Tony, tell me about a time where you had to lead a big team project." and you had different personalities to deal with. How did you deal with that, right? Or Paul, tell me about a time where you were told to solve this really ambiguous challenge and you had no idea where to start. What did you do? Those are behavioral based questions. So a crisp structure to respond is using STAR. You quickly explain the situation in 2 sentences. Then you explain the task that you were responsible for. So situation could be like, um, in my internship at blah blah blah, I was working on this project to deliver a marketing campaign for XYZ movies, and the stakeholders included this, and this was the timeline. Situation super simple, right? The task was I had to figure out how much money to allocate between Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Snapchat, whatever. That's your task. And then the action is what you actually did. I did X research. I spoke to X movie producer. I looked into this data, blah, blah, blah. And then the results. And then ultimately, the movie marketing campaign was a success because we beat the box office projections by 33%. Click-through rates for my campaign on Facebook were 22% higher than benchmarks. And then the average view time of Snapchat was 12% higher than average industry, whatever, right? The proxies. Um, but each one is short and crisp, like 2 sentences, because the key is you want to set the tone, answer it, and then give room and space for the interviewer to ask follow-up questions. The key with this is you want to show that you can explain a complex experience succinctly, give enough detail, but also make it interesting enough that they want to ask you questions. Because if you do this well, the A and the R will be the most interesting. You took a specific, unique action and you drove a good result. Whenever someone does that, the first question I have is tell me more about how you came about this action because it could be potentially applicable to more things that we do. Like, remember, this is how big leaders think. Once you have a win with something, they're thinking, how do I scale this win to the team, to the department, to the org, to the wider company? Because the broader you can scale a win, the bigger impact and scope you have, right? So that's how the leaders are thinking. So what you want to show is you're someone who can take a tough situation and task, come up with an interesting or smart action, and that drove results, right? So if you do this well, the interview will become more like a conversation about how you think. So it shifts from, is this person qualified and credible and a good fit to, hey, this person has good proof of work and is interesting. Let me pick their brain so that I can understand them more because they seem to be a good fit for the company already. That's what you want. Okay. So to recap, the 4 actions to making the most of your internship. Nail your first impression, ship a win early on, and show your excitement and your preparedness. Use the magic loop during the internship. The key question here is how can I help you, manager? This works because I've shared this previously with other students and some mentees, etc., and they all got full-time offers. Uh, Big tech companies, real estate companies, VC firms, fintech, health tech, all different sectors, all different types of roles, technical, non-technical. Um, then meet key stakeholders with a purpose. Because the more people that you could have on your side, your allies, your champions, your supporters, the bigger the votes will be. When it's like, oh yeah, um, Leia or Omar or Cece or Gabriel, yeah, they were a strong intern. They delivered, and guess what? They met a lot of people, and people like them. So they'll be a good fit for the company. And then keep this brag file because when you do go for the interviews, you want to be able to just open up a Google Doc, read these things, have your star answers ready without having to do the legwork of gathering the information. Okay, we're almost done. Oh, feel free to connect with me. That's my LinkedIn. We have a Level Up newsletter for free career advice. So You could just find me on LinkedIn as Jason Young, easy to find. I don't think there's many people with my name on it, especially those that went to USC. I live in Honolulu, so if you ever come, let me know. Ping me on LinkedIn. I'm always on LinkedIn. That's my social media go-to. Okay. I thought we were done, but no. Okay, some bonus content. How do you really stand out? Okay, I get this question a lot. Here it is. 90% of people say they do things. I do this. I'm passionate about this. Okay, yeah, great. Everyone's passionate about something. 10% of people prove they did it. They built it, they shipped it. Instead of saying, hey, I'm passionate about, what's a good topic? Does anyone have an interesting topic that I could use? Let's say I'm passionate about business podcasts. Okay, great. Yeah, there's a lot of business podcasts out there and there's a lot of listeners. The 10% say, hey, I'm passionate about business podcasts and I built this newsletter that distills the top five takeaways of every episode I watch. Okay, yeah, pretty good. Or, hey, I built my okay, so that's one of them, right? The top 1%, they prove it with impressive results. They build, ship, but are also able to show they can grow and sell it. Because if you could build and sell or grow, that's the super combination, right? Um, so in this case, it could be like, hey, I am really passionate about business podcasts. I started a newsletter on Substack called, I don't know, Business Podcast Insights. Great name, right? And I just share the top five takeaways uh, from a college student's perspective or from a Gen Alpha. I'm actually not sure what Gen Z, something like that, from a Gen Z's perspective. Um, and I've been able to grow this newsletter uh 7% subscribers week over week, month over month, something like that. So now the conversation turns, right? Now I'm most interested to say, oh, well, how do you pick the insights? What was the most what insight resonated the most with your readers? How do you get your readers? You know, blah 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 blah. Now I'm picking your brain as a conversation. Um, Okay, yeah. So Paul put a good topic in the Zoom chat. I'll just use that. Passionate about small businesses in a partnership with a social cause. Yeah. So the key with that is don't say you're passionate about it. Just say what, which one have you helped, right? What small business and what social cause did you help put together, right? It could be the local grocery store with helping to save cats and dogs, right? How did you run a fundraiser for them? Did you handle their email marketing? Did you handle their Facebook page? Something about that. And then the cream of the crop is you do it with the results. You can speak about the results. Oh yeah, I was able to grow their Facebook page 50% within 2 weeks because I did XYZ. Or here's a simple example. I grew it by 50% because what I noticed was the organization only posted photos about the cats and dogs. But I know that this audience likes short videos of 25 seconds or less. And they really want to see the before and after results, something like that, right? The what you did, that's your action, and then the results. Okay. Oh, thank you. Okay. Oh, there's one more. There's one more. Remember, I want everyone to remember this. I heard this great quote from a company CEO. Companies run on room temperature. It's up to the leaders to raise the heat. And what the heat means is the tempo, the urgency, the bias for action, the truth seeking, and driving hotly debated topics, which can sometimes be uncomfortable. We did that a lot at Amazon. Um, but that's what leaders do. And the most important part to remember is anyone and everyone can be the leader, including the interns. I've seen interns raise the heat. They've raised the bar on what quality means and they shipped things faster, thus moving the entire internship group to go faster. And in business, speed definitely matters. Okay, Q&A time. I think that's the last slide. Yeah, last slide. Q&A time. I will stop the screen share. Let's see what we've got. Anyone? Let's see. 39 people. Okay, let's see. Oh, Amanda, come off mute and if you want, you could share what major you're in, you know, what school, etc., and then ask the question.
Oh well, I just have a quick question. I was wondering for the recording, would it be posted or like, because I really like the content and I think I will need to review it a little bit more after I get off the Zoom call.
Yeah, 100%. I will send the recording to USC and they will do their behind the scenes magic with it. Okay. Okay. I see a question in the chat. Well, actually, let me pull up the Zoom Q&A to make sure nothing's in there. Okay. Let me read this. Thanks for your insights. Great. I'm starting in my internship in 2 weeks. I've already asked my manager if there's anything I can review. She said no. Is there anything you recommend for me to do right now to get a head start? Okay. So you've already asked your manager. She said no. Okay. Then what you do is you say, this is where you want to go into self-learning. So make sure you're clear on the company's mission values. This is all public stuff, right? This is what I would do. Read the company values, read the leadership principles if they have them, and then kind of memorize them because these are the behaviors that they prioritize, right? Usually when they look to give someone a performance review, a promotion, or make a full-time internship offer, they will see how you stack up against each of those values. So you want to make sure you exhibit them. The other thing you can do is if the CEO writes any letters to shareholders annually, read the last three. Because you'll get basically it's going to tell you what are the top priorities of the company and then the language that they use, right? Um, at Amazon, a lot of people use the same language of mental models to show how they're thinking, or day one, or customer obsession. So you want to be clear on that. The other thing that you can do is listen to the latest quarterly earnings. This could come from the CEO, the CFO, etc., but pay attention and see what they're talking about. Um, for example, they'll usually talk about the priority business lines that they're doubling down on. They'll talk about future forecasts and where they see the business going. They also might talk about tailwinds and headwinds. The tailwinds on what is driving growth of the business, international markets, specific departments, new products, etc. Or they might talk about headwinds where they see some challenges coming, right? Could be price increases, slower consumer adoption, things like that. So just do a lot of self-learning there. Um, and then I'd be curious to see what the manager replied. Let's just assume they said just a flat out now, then just do the self-learning, but hit the ground running. In your first meeting with your manager, what you can reiterate is say, "Hey, manager, I'm really excited to be here. I looked over the latest quarterly earnings reports, the latest shareholders, and these two things stuck out to me." And just simply share it. But regardless, it shows like, oh, this person's like kind of serious. Not that many people do that. I guarantee you 99.9% of people don't do that. I've had maybe either zero or one interns do that. So if you do that, you will stand out. Okay. The key with two, here's like a psychological thing. If you share one, it's like, okay, yeah, that's a nice insight. If you share three, sometimes it's a lot. Now it starts to become a list. If you share two, two's very digestible. Two quick insights. It's also similar to asking a question. Hey, can I ask you one question? Sure. Can I ask you three questions? Uh, yeah, it might take a long time. Can I ask you two? Sure. Two's easy. Go, 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 right? So you're kind of maximizing how much you can share while minimizing the effort on the receiver's end. So it's kind of like psychological there. Okay, Taha, come off mute and ask your question.
Hi, Jason. Thank you so much for all the information so far. So, give a small introduction. I'm a first semester master's in public administration student. My question is that how do you, and my bad if it's already said, but how do you make sure that you don't bite off more than you can chew, if that makes sense? Because like I have a problem is that kind of overcommitted like in past jobs, but then failed to deliver, then like kind of like not only get the ire of like my management, but after that like team members, everyone else. So yeah, like how do you just like be realistic, but at the same time try to be the best version of yourself?
Yeah, there's largely two answers to this. Answer one is you grind it out and you get it done. That's like the, don't get me wrong, there are definitely times, especially early in my career, where I worked a lot and got it done, right? Because there's really no other way. Like both top priorities, different executive stakeholders, I didn't want to let any of them down. So you know what? Right now, career's number one, I'm gonna get it done. Number two is you focus on what is the higher impact. So classic prioritization, right? What is critical and urgent, and focus on that. And then only after you've done that, then ask for help. Remember, you don't want to ask your manager right away, how can I help you? That's not the first step. The first step is doing your job well because you have to build that credibility first. Here's the worst thing you could do. You're not doing your job well, or you're missing deliverables, or a little bit slow, and then you ask, how can I help? Because the answer you're going to get is, well, you can help me by doing your job. And you don't want that answer, right? They might not say it outright, but they're definitely thinking it. So the other way to do this is if you're getting thrown a lot of projects at you, being maybe voluntold or just told what to do, and you're kind of like drowning and there's a lot going on. What you can do is you could say, hey, manager, there's a lot happening right there, right now with these three projects or four projects. From what I've been told, they're all quite urgent and important. Can you help me prioritize which ones? That's one way. The other way, and this one works very effectively when you're dealing specifically with very senior executives, let's call it the CEO, who are very intense, demanding, but also ambiguous. Where they're kind of like, hey, I want you to solve this problem, like try XYZ, go do it. Yeah, get it to me yesterday. Yeah, that happens a lot. Tough. The key on how you handle that is you do quick updates on what you're doing and asking for alignment. Hey, boss, uh, I'm working on this. This is how I understand it. I'm gonna move forward with ABC. The key phrase is I will move forward with ABC. Let me know if you have other thoughts by XYZ time. I will move forward. Give me feedback by this time. Because you're going to get one of three answers. Yes, perfect. You understood me. You're a mind reader. Thank you. Great job. Go. That's one. That's great. That's actually the best. Number two is, yeah, that's good, but I need you to think about this XYZ. And you're thinking to yourself, well, you never said that, but okay, you're the boss. I'm going to do it. Okay, yeah, that happens sometimes, especially with super busy executives. Number three, you can get no. Like, that's not what I meant at all. You're missing the mark. This is what I meant. And now you're thinking to yourself, well, if you just told me that at the beginning, then we wouldn't be in this situation, but it's okay. But either way, you got three clear answers. That's what you're looking for, right? So that's one way to do it. I guess those are overall three ways to do it. Um, but I will just say that this situation is very common, especially at the speed of business and the amount of work, because there's endless amount of works. So the key is to be very clear on alignment when things are done and what is a priority, and then understand the impact because you want to focus on what really matters, right? And that's where it matters, your first meeting with your managers, understand what are the KPIs that they mean. Because if they're telling you, my KPIs are these five things, but then you're given all these super important, blah, blah, blah tasks that don't really match up, sometimes you just have to get those done, or then you can start to ask, hey, manager, I shipped this, it was a win. Is there anything I can help you within these five things? Because you want to work on things that matter. Okay. Paul, come off mute and ask your question.
So this is something that happened to me, not happened to me, but at a position I had, it was very administrative, but it was also like kind of managing a group of volunteers within a coalition and there was already like a lot of partnerships and like collaboration between like various organizations. But there was one where I noticed that they weren't working with, and it was very odd because it seemed like it was just obvious, like why wouldn't you work with them? So basically, what I did is I just catalyzed the process of like them introducing each other to and getting connected. But I feel like just to say catalyzed this connection as like one of the accomplishments. I don't know how much that doesn't seem like a big like achievement compared to like the tabling that I did.
Yeah, I agree. It's not, I mean, it's more like an action. I connected
Okay.
these two disparate, disconnected teams who weren't talking to each other into one, and we got X done. So you're missing the real action. Like, what did that result in? Did you deliver the
Right.
project faster than deliverable? Did you do it, did you beat benchmarks? What was it?
It resulted in them. So it was about opioid response, and it was um, connecting a nonprofit that provides services to the EMS, the local EMS, and it resulted in them having better data on what the first responders are seeing for overdoses, and then how can the organization help and the coalition help um, customize the customize the local services better. So it
Okay.
was mostly information exchange, but it's also like how can we help each other better serve the community?
Okay. So go one step further. So what I heard was two powerful things. Uh, Clean data and customization. What did that lead to? Did that allow the first responders to respond faster? Did that allow them to
Right.
help more patients, right? Like what was that final result? What would you say?
Yeah. I should have asked them that. I still could technically, but I would think that one would be um, it it streamlined the continuity of the care from emergency to like long-term treatment.
Okay, good.
So it smoothed that and
That's
um,
huge. So lead
yeah,
with that. And
okay,
it's fine. Like, look, there are business realities. So people understand when you may not have the full results or data right now
yeah,
because it could be a work in progress, especially in fields where it takes longer, healthcare, government, etc., right? So you can say things like STAR, STA. So you talked about all the actions. And then for the result, you can say the results are still a work in progress, but our hypothesis is that it will lead to an increase in XYZ. That's
yeah,
it.
okay,
And that's fine. If someone said share that to me in an interview, I'd be like, that's a great answer. And because then my follow-up question would be, how did you come up with that hypothesis? Because now remember, we're shifted the conversation. Now I'm asking you, how do you think? How does
right,
Paul think? How does Paul solve problems? How do you deal with X? Rather than did you do this? Right? So
yeah,
that's how I would answer. This is a
okay,
great answer. Yeah, but just
yeah,
sharpen it up in that flow.
yeah, okay, thanks.
Yeah, that was good. And the nice thing is, look, especially if you're talking about someone in your domain and industry, they will understand more of the lingo of the business, right? So when you say first responders responding faster to customers, and then it minimizes or reduces the length of time from to long-term care, someone in that field will understand that. Okay, Alex.
Hey Jason, thanks for your insights. One question I had is when you do get your 15-minute meeting with the stakeholder that you've been asking to meet with, what do you think are the key points that you need to nail in where it's not repetitive when you meet with every single one over the time of your internship, but it's also, you're not just making stuff up that you don't really actually care about. So what do you think are the important things to bring up when you're asking them and chewing their brain?
Yep. So I would tackle it like this. This is my mental model. Step one, just share with them very clearly who your manager is, what org you work on, and something you've done well, a win. Just to set the table. Hey, I'm Alex. I work under Jason on this org, and I recently shipped ABC that resulted in XYZ. Just so you set the table that you're a high performer. And then the second part, and this is the crux of it. So I would spend 1 to 2 minutes on that opening. Then the next is you listening and asking them sharp questions. How does our team, collaborate or align with your team? See what they say. What are your main goals? What are your top challenges? And then how can I help you? If you just ask those, what was that, 3 to 4 questions, that'll probably take up 10 minutes. And then you can ask follow-up questions, blah, blah. And then you reserve the last one when you say, really enjoyed this discussion. Want to meet more people. I really like it at this company. You're basically saying, I want a full-time job, right? Who's one other person you recommend I meet with? Because If this conversation went well, they're probably going to say, you need to meet with this person on my team because they own X, and X is important for your team. Or they're going to say, you should get to know this other team because what they do is not tied to our teams, but it's important for the business unit as a company, right? Or, hey, why don't you meet with the accounting person or the finance person to see how they track or what metrics they look at. That's what you want. But 2 minutes intro of yourself, 10 minutes of you asking them those questions to get to know them. And frankly, people like talking about themselves and their team, so it's pretty easy for them. And then what does that leave? 2 to 3 minutes left over for goodbyes, thank yous, and the closing question. That's how I would structure it. Super simple. And here's the thing: end it on 15 minutes. Even earlier if you can, because everyone's busy. So if you could end it and give them the time back, they will appreciate it. Because then they'll say, oh, hey, that person, Alex, was respectful of the time, was clear, was sharp, was concise, and that was a good conversation. Yeah, done. And remember, close the loop later with an email, which can be a week later or whatever, after you've met the person that they recommended you to. And just keep that flywheel going. I wish I did more of that in my early on. I did it. I was good at it. I remember when I first joined my first job, University of McCann, I asked for a one-on-one meeting with the executive vice president. And everyone was like, "You're meeting with Karen right now?" I'm like, "Yeah." And they're like, "Oh, dang. Some of us have never met with her one-on-one." But it's also because I came in warm from the referrals, right? That's where starting this internship process really worked well. So do that. Okay, Melissa.
Hi there. Thank you for your time. Um, I'm a freshman, so my internships that I'm looking at I feel like, are not going in with the end goal of working there. And I feel like from the tips you've given us so far, I feel like the end goal is to have a full-time offer. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I just want to ask for these starting out internships, just to get to know the industry and get experience, is there any steps that you think I should omit to not come off as strong or as pushy, or is there any steps that you think I should do more because the internship is a little bit different?
No, I would do exactly what I told you because here's the thing. In your career, optionality and leverage is a great thing. You want offers that you can turn down. I'd rather have 10 offers than zero offers, or I'd rather have 12 offers than one offer. So if you go into every internship, like, I want to learn, I want to contribute, I want to be in the top 1%, and I want to win, you will deliver. And then guess what? If they give you an offer later, obviously when you graduate, so 3, 4 plus years down the road, you can say yes or no. And there's nothing wrong with saying yeah, a no. You can say, I really like the company. I really appreciate it. Um, and be truthful. However, this other company has offered me this. Everyone, they probably want you more now as a full-time offer, right? Um, Now, don't be uh, inauthentic if you don't like the company, right? Now, still do great work and end your internship on a good note because remember, um, people move industries, right? The intern hiring manager at the company that you didn't really like, let's say you went into, I don't know, PR and you don't really like it, which was true for me, that person might move to digital marketing later. And then you might want a job at that company later. So, um, this is other advice I give. There are largely two types of rocket ships that you want to hit yourself on in your career. Either a company rocket ship where it's just growing. No matter what you do or what role you take, you will get the benefit of the growth. Or a manager rocket ship where your manager, who is someone that you have a good relationship with, they trust you, you trust them, they're your champion. You're like, if this person was a stock, I would put my money on them because they're gonna go places. Because what happens is they always keep a short list of top talent. I do. When I've moved, I've always brought some people with me, and they'll take you with them if they want you, right? I know a few senior executives when they take C-level roles, part of the like package that they negotiate is I need these one or two open spots so I can hire one of my lieutenants that I trust. Because as you get more senior in your career, trust is super important. Trust to handle hard problems, trust in crisis times, trust in hard times, etc. So just I would employ this in any internship. But be authentic, yeah. You know,
Yeah.
if you're not excited, you don't have to scream you're so excited. You could just like, I'm excited to be here, but I'll do good work. And remember, there's a thoughtful way of doing it. You could say, if let's say you're at an internship and you don't really like it, and the hiring manager's like, "Hey, Melissa, Jason, how do you like it?" You can say, "I like these parts of it, and I'm still trying to figure out these other aspects, and if I'm a good fit or if my skills are good for it, right?" So there's always a way to do that. But yeah, don't burn bridges.
Okay. Thank
Yeah,
you.
yeah.
And
Him.
and
Oh yeah,
then
go ahead. Go
follow
ahead,
up
Melissa.
real quick. Sorry. Would you like us to send a quick note when we connect to you on LinkedIn? Mm,
Sure, yeah, why not? It couldn't hurt, right? If you could say, "Hey, thanks for the talk at USC." Yeah, it couldn't hurt.
okay. It's just the thing that I think I have like free LinkedIn, so I only have like two free ones per month.
Oh, then you don't have to. You don't have to because I could probably remember.
All right. Thank you.
The bio will say a lot, like USC student or whatever, right? Um, yeah. So don't waste it on this one.
Thank you.
Okay, Kim.
Hi, my question is kind of a follow-up to Melissa, but since she said that most of us or some of us have are not end goal of full-time offer, and usually it's like for me, I'm just wondering how is the best way to keep in touch, mainly because you're not kind of gonna get that full-time until like you graduate in like 3, 4 years. But then they always tell me to keep in touch, but I kind of struggle to know what topic to bring up and to not sound kind of like bothersome or be like, hey, just checking in, even though I don't come with anything. So I'm wondering how do you like to navigate that?
Yeah, so here's an interesting thing. Executives, their schedules are usually super packed and sometimes very organized. So there's like a tempo to their day. Sometimes when they get a message that kind of cuts through from like a former intern that does something exciting, they kind of like tend to read it and respond. So how do you stay in touch? There's a few ways. You can, the easiest way that's most scalable is you send an update on yourself once or at most twice a year. Since let's say you're a freshman and you have 3 or 4 years before you really want the internship or full-time role, you can probably do it once a year. And most people that I've seen do it well, they usually time it with like end of year reflections or beginning of the new year. So basically December or January, right? And you just want to basically you do an email BCC of all the important stakeholders that you've interacted with. And then you write an email that says, "Hey, uh, you know, I want to send you at the end of the year, blah blah. Here are my reflections." But you have to do it strategically because you don't want it to come off as annoying. So
Yeah.
the first step is you want to share something that you've done that is exciting, like something you're working on, or something you built, or something you shipped. Basically, at most 3 bullet points. The title could be "This is what I've been up to," and just three crisp bullet points. I published this article at USC, or I was cited in this journal, or I built this app, or I helped build this feature at Snapchat, whatever, and send like a live link. And the more public the announcement, like if there's like a press release or something you could direct to, the better, right? Like, don't say it, prove it. So instead of saying, "Hey, I built this website, I built a website about dogs and cats," say, "Here's a link to the website I built about dogs and cats, and it was featured in Forbes," or whatever. See how and it's like one sentence. Because to an executive, they're like, "Oh, that's kind of cool." Right? The next thing then is the second section could be um, you can write, okay, there's at most three sections. So you determine if two or three makes sense. Section one, what I've been up to, 3 bullet points. Section two, what I'm doing next, 1 to 2 bullet points at most. And then section three, you could just say, you could just ask it is if there's, how can I help you? If there's anything that I could do to help you, reply back to this. Or if you want to be more detailed, you can say, I'm really good at ABC, like list like your top three skills. If there's anything that I could do to help you in within this realm, let me know. That's if you really know what you want to do. Like especially if you're on a career path that's very set, right? Or let's say you know you only want to go into orthopedic sports medicine and you don't care about anything else, then just focus on that. Now, here's the key. The key with those last two, what I'm doing next and how can I help you, is you want them to reply and either say, "Hey, great job. Thanks for this note. Super exciting." A lot of executives would do that. Or you want them to say, "Hey, yeah, I actually have this friend who's working on this. Can I connect you?" That's like ideal, right? Or another one is, especially senior executives who are further in their careers, many of them sometimes have children and children in middle school, high school, maybe college. They might even say, "Hey, my son or daughter is like really interested in this. Would you chat with them?" And always help them because if you could help their child, they appreciate it. Um, so remember, with this, you're really doing two things psychologically. You're sharing your wins and you're reminding them why you're a top performer. And then at the same time, you're sharing them interesting things that you are doing so that it could potentially spark a connection, right? Like, think about it. The only reason why I'm doing this talk is because I'm a USC alumni. That's the connection we share, right? And if you request a LinkedIn and I see you're a USC student, yeah, it's easy. So you want to find these common ground connections, right? So Paul earlier was talking about social causes. A lot of people volunteer or on the board of social causes. It could be animals, it could be education, whatever. If you could connect on that, you could help each other. That forms a deeper trust and relationship, right? And now they could also speak about what you've done. Like when they refer to someone, hey, you should really consider Kim for this full-time role. She was able to help me with ABC. That goes a
Mhm.
long way. Yeah.
And then I guess if I already have them on LinkedIn, like from a senior level, what do you prefer more? Like an email that's so detailed, or you just want quick and easy message?
Email. Always
Email.
email because most executives live on email and specifically on their mobile phone. So you want this short. This is not a long email. It's, hey, want to share what I've been up to. Hey, it's Kim. Want to share what I've been up to. Section one, three bullets. Section two, one or two bullets. How can I help you? Super
Got
simple. You always want to remember, uh, always picture them reading it on their mobile phone.
it. Hmm.
No one wants to read a book on their mobile phone. It's too much. So keep it short and bullet point.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And just capture, at the end of at the end of every internship, make sure you get their emails
Yes.
and just send it to them. And at the end, I've seen some people do this. They could say, "P.S. If you don't want to be on this email in the future, just let me know, reply, and I'll take you off."
Oh,
That's
okay.
fair. But remember, when people do that, it also shows confidence, right? That, hey, if you find this annoying, just tell me and I'll remove you. No hurt feelings. Um, People respect confidence. Um, so don't be afraid to just say it.
Sounds good. Thank
Yeah,
you.
no problem. Okay, let's see. If there's no more hand raises, I'm gonna look at the chat. Will the slides also be sent? I will send the slides to USC so they could do what they need to. How to deal with conflicts like if you really disagree with the boss of doing a certain project. Okay, so this question has nuances because it goes two ways. Is the disagreement about what project the boss gave you, or is the disagreement about how the boss wants you to do the project? So let's just do both really quickly. If it's a project about what you are given and you just don't like it, I would say early on, just do it. I've done work that I did not want to do. I mean, we all have to. I still have to do it now. Sometimes some of these operational and P&L kind of stuff, nah, I don't want. I'd rather not do it, but sometimes you just have to do it, right? Um, you what's key is you want to show that you can deliver high quality work at a fast pace and that you're not going to complain because everyone has to do work they don't like. Okay, so that's one. If it's doing the work a certain way, if basically your boss is like, hey, can you do this task? And your boss is like, do it ABC. And you're like, well, I think it should be done at one, two, three. Okay, what you do with the boss in this case is you could say, hey, boss, from what I understand, this is the project. Would you be comfortable if I tackled it this way? The key with disagreements is to ask open-ended questions because you want to turn the disagreement into a discussion. Other phrases you could use is, hey, boss, for this project, um, is there data you would need to see so that I could present it in this way? And very much well, they might respond and say no, because the vice president expects it in this format. And I'm not going to push back on that. Like it's a battle I don't want to win, right? Or they might say, well, we need to get done super fast because this customer is coming to our office in 2 days and they're going to be here live. You might not know enough context. So you want to ask questions like that, right? That's how you turn disagreements into discussions. Okay. Next question. Can you talk a bit about your experience with imposter syndromes at internships? How to get more comfortable taking up space? Okay, imposter syndrome. Imposter syndrome is natural. The key is to understand that everyone has it and that it's okay. The best thing with imposter syndrome is to accept it and acknowledge it. The other thing is it's good when you have imposter syndrome because it's a learning post. It's a signpost that you're learning and growing and stretching yourself. And that's the only way to learn. Um, so view it as a positive thing. The key with imposter syndrome is to reframe it as a positive thing and to say, look, I might know 25% of this, but I'm going to learn and try my best. And to avoid stumbles, I'm going to ask questions to my manager. I'm going to keep them updated. I'm going to say, hey, this is a quick progress update. This is what I'm doing. Just want to keep you updated. And if you have any other thoughts, please let me know. That's how you keep, right? You want to, with tasks that are ambiguous and harder, you don't want to go away for 2 weeks and then say, hey, surprise, here's the big deliverable. It's due in 2 hours. I beat it. Give me a pat on my back. And then the boss is like, nah, this is not that good. That's not what you want. Micro updates. Hey, boss, this is what I'm working on. This is what I found. This is what I'm doing. If you have any other thoughts, let me know by this time. Otherwise, I'm going to keep moving forward. Right? That's what you want. And if they don't respond, just take silence as acceptance. Just keep moving forward. So that's how I do it. How to get more comfortable taking up space. There's two keys here. Number one, be value add. You get comfortable taking up space when you are valuable, when you have some insight to share, when you have customer feedback to share, when you raise your hand to say, I will take on that task. That's how you do it. The other way is when you invite and bring others in, right? Let's say it's a hard discussion and you don't really know where it's going. You could say, um, well, this one's harder because maybe you want to pre-plan with some people, but you can say, oh, Emily, do you have thoughts on this? Or you could say, I know Carol and Jin were working on this project. I think they have some good insights. Now, you want to be careful not to just like surprise and throw someone under the bus, right? If they're not prepared. That's where you might say, hey, Carol, Jin, we're going into this meeting. I know you've been working on this. Is it okay if I call on you if I don't have the answer? And they can be like, yeah, do it. Great. Or they can say, no, no, don't do it because we haven't finished it, so we have no idea. Right. So that's how you do it. Okay. Next question. How do you work under pressure? Ooh. Um, the way to work under pressure is to be clear about what you're working on and why you're working on it. It's important because of XYZ, and I'm working on it because it matters to our business because of ABC. And thus it matters to my internship because of 1, 2, 3. That's how you know. And some things are going to be more important than others. The other way to work under pressure is to keep your stakeholders clearly updated. So they're not, what you don't want is you don't want emails that say, hey, Jason, where is this? You want to be proactive about it. Let's say it's a real-time crunch and it's maybe like a mini crisis moment. The way to give updates then is, hey, hey boss, I'm working on XYZ. I will send another update at this exact time, like 90 minutes from now. And then whatever it is, just send that update. Because now they're no longer guessing, hey, is this kid Jason doing it? They're like, oh, okay, Jason's working on X and I'm gonna get an update in 90 minutes. Okay, I can live with that. Let me go work on something else. That's how you work under pressure. The other part is just osmosis, more experience. That's part of the reason why I did 7 internships, right? Just to really get the experience. There's only certain things you can learn firsthand. And part of that is how to work with others. Very hard to read a textbooks on how to manage complicated people with different emotions and feelings. Very hard. And then versus how to work during crisis moments. So you kind of have to experience it. Uh, how to leverage an internship. I'm not sure what the question means. If you could explain it more, how to leverage an internships, how to get select in the internships interview. Uh, the other thing with that, okay, so how to get selected in an internship interview is what I did. So I don't know. So this is what I did. I applied through the USC career portal and I had a crisp one pager resume where each bullet point led with the result, followed by a quick example action. So, because resumes are very short, so you don't have to do the whole star thing. Just lead with the result. And then the other thing is, once you start to have a few resumes under your belt, get the testimonials from the others, from the hiring manager, from their peers. Maybe if you did really well, an executive. That's where this. Remember the brag file. Sometimes you'll get an email where sometimes you will send an email about a project status, and then Senior Vice President ABC will respond and say, excellent work because of 1, 2, 3 points. That is an anecdote that you put in your brag file because then you could put that in your resume so that you get the internship interview, right? And remember, we were talking to Paul about this where some results might be a work in progress. So you could say, oh, this digital marketing campaign for this movie is still ongoing. So we don't have the exact results yet. But what I can share is this anecdote from the SVP of marketing, where they said, excellent work, blah, blah, blah. Remember, there are two types of data. There's the hard data, the metrics, and then there's anecdotal data. The anecdotal data are the testimonials, the reviews, the quotes. Those are sometimes just as powerful. So that's how I would do it. Um, Okay, and the rest of the questions are just thank you. Uh, blah blah blah. Okay. I know we're over time. Great questions. These are good questions. Any other before we wrap up? No? Okay. Remember, we talked about closing the loop. Um, when you have a career breakthrough, when you land an internship, when you get an internship interview, when you get a full-time offer, anything of a win, just let me know on LinkedIn because I love to hear about it. And if you start any of those emails where you give people, here, I'll give you my email then, where you send people like your annual updates, uh, just send it to me or include me. Here's a really good one. Let me put my friend, if I can find it. Annual email update. Do do do. Is this the one? This way you could get a good I can't find it right now. But you had the whole gist of the email format. Isn't Don't make it complicated. It's simple. Keep things simple. Okay. Oh, here's another thing. In these emails, if you want, um, include like a visual if you're working on something interesting. In that second section, things I'm working on, include a link or sometimes a visual. I have a friend, works at Airbnb, he's a product leader. He owns, I think, one of the payment products. Anyways, he sends a weekly or biweekly email to key executive stakeholders. He does, the first half is all the metrics, all the benchmarks, all the important stuff. At the end of every email, he shares a photo of a bird that he captured, like he took a photo of. Because he is a bird enthusiast. He will travel the world to go in the jungles or savannas or mountains or whatever to sit there for hours and photograph a rare bird. So at Airbnb, he's become known as the bird guy. Like, no joke. So at the end of everyone, just to keep it whimsical and fun, because also Airbnb has that culture. Remember, you always want to match it up to the company culture. He says, "Oh, and here's the latest photo of this like red bird." That's the one he sent me. Um, and some of the executives, they love responding to it. Sometimes when they respond to him, they don't even mention about the wins of the business. They'll just say, "Great bird photo," or "Hey, have you blah blah blah." But then when he goes to meetings, at the water cooler or 5 minutes before they start, a lot of people ask him, "Hey, what's the latest bird you're gonna capture?" Blah blah blah. Now, he's obviously a very strong product leader with high credentials and credibility and results, but now he's also something more. He's multidimensional now. His name's Rohan. So now they know Rohan as something more than just the product leader, right? So you see how that helps. So you can try some of that. Okay. Since there are no more questions, we will end it. I really enjoyed it. Great questions. Keep raising the heat and keep me updated. And last but not least, fight on. Okay. Bye, everyone.
Thank you, Jason.